Good day everyone. My name is Kim Pimentel and today I'm going to discuss about the structures of the English text. For this chapter, it focuses on a different kind of context, the linguistic context, and how it also affects the way that language is structured and used. In the previous chapter, it talks about how the social context in which communication takes place affects the form and usage of the words and sentences that people speak and write. In this chapter, it also talks about how it describes English texts, both written and spoken, are structured and explains why they possess the structure that they do. It specifically focuses on the linguistic context and how it influences the way language is structured and used. And these are the key terms that we need to take note for this chapter. First is we have the word coherence. Next, we also have cohesion. Next is communicative dynamism, and followed by the end focus, the new and given all information, register, text, unity of structure, and lastly, the unity of texture. Moving beyond the sentence, the discourse and pragmatics. The meaning of language isn't just in the words or semantics or the grammar or the syntax. It's in how those words are used in a complete text and real world context. This chapter shifts the focus from grammar rules to communicative function. Now, what is text? A text is the largest unit of linguistic structure. It is more than just a sequence of sentences, it is a coherent piece of communication. A text is coherent, complete, and purposeful instance of linguistic communication, either written or spoken, that functions as a single unit within a context. Furthermore, it is the largest unit of linguistic analysis, sitting above sentences, clauses, words, and sounds. For example, ouch! You stepped on my foot. A simple ouch followed by you stepped on my foot is a text because the second sentence explains the first. Now, language in action is the study of how sentences combine to create larger meaningful units. Now, the question that you need to ponder is how do speakers and writers organize their information to be successful communicators? Well, speakers and writers organize their information to be successful communicators by ensuring their texts have two crucial qualities: cohesion and coherence. These qualities are achieved by following the conventional expectations of the register and genre in which they are communicating. Let's proceed to the unity of texture. Cohesion is the linguistic signal, while coherence is the meaningful effect. A text can be cohesive but incoherent. Cohesion, making the text stick. Cohesion refers to the linguistic ties that exist within the text, linking one sentence or clause to another. It creates the texture of the text. Now let's proceed to the first type of cohesion, which is the reference. Reference using a word that refers to something else in the text or outside the text. There are two types of the reference. First is the anaphoric reference and the cataphoric reference. In the anaphoric reference, for example, the CEO gave a speech. She spoke about market growth. She refers to the CEO. Second example, the CEO released a statement. She confirmed the merger would go ahead. The pronoun she refers to this antecedent, the CEO. Many employees quit after the layoff. That caused a significant problem for the team. The demonstrative pronoun that refers to the back entire previous clause. Many employees quit after the layoff. Now, the last example for reference is the hurricane caused immense damage. This immense storm required years of recovery. The synonym storm refers back to the original noun, the hurricane, adding variety while maintaining the topic. For the second type of reference, we have the cataphoric reference. In cataphoric reference, first example, it was the most anticipated movie of the year, June 3. The pronoun it refers to the full noun phrase June 3. Here is the list of ingredients you'll need: flour, sugar, and butter. The demonstrative adverb here refers forward to the detailed list of ingredients. The general manager then proposed this idea: we should implement a 4-day work week. The general noun phrase this idea refers forward to the specific proposal: we should implement a 4-day work week. For the last example of the cataphoric reference is, these are the key factors driving the market surge: low interest rates, high consumer confidence, and booming technology stocks. This is the cataphoric reference. Low interest rates, high consumer confidence, and booming technology stocks are the postcedent or the full explanation. Now, let's proceed to substitution. Substitution is replacing a previous word or phrase with a substitute element, usually one, do, or so, to avoid repetition. For example, in the nominal substitution, first example, I need a new battery for my flashlight. I will buy a powerful one today. The word one replaces the noun battery. This is to avoid repetition. The second example is the blue dresses are expensive. I prefer the red ones anyway. Ones replaces the noun phrase dresses but retains the qualifier red. Then the last example is we need a solution that is both cheap and fast. No one seems to have a thought of one yet. The first one refers to person or nobody. Then the second one refers to a solution. Next type of substitution is the verbal substitution. This has something to do with the word or the element do. For example, in a simple present, do you know the answer to the final question? I think I do. In a past tense, did the new manager approve the budget? Yes, she did. In a negative context, the old system failed, and the new one might do too if we don't fix the bug. And lastly, for embedded replacement, for example, if you need any help formatting the paper, I can do it for you. Okay, the next type of substitution is a clausal substitution, the element so. For example, with the affirmative using so. Is the meeting still scheduled for 3 p.m.? The assistant told me so. The explanation: so substitutes the entire clause that the meeting is still scheduled for 3 p.m. For a negative using not, do you know the train will be late? I hope not. The explanation: not substitutes the clause that the train will be late. And lastly, the anticipating belief, for example, so they say but I haven't seen the evidence myself. So substitutes the belief that some fact is true, the implied clause. Well, why substitution is crucial? Substitution is vital for achieving a concise and sophisticated writing style, as it eliminates redundancy while maintaining clear, linked ideas. Now, let's proceed to ellipsis. Ellipsis is omitting a word or phrase that is clearly understood from the linguistic context, highly common in conversation. First type of ellipsis is nominal ellipsis. For example, I'll take 3 apples, but only the red. The omitted element or the omitted word in that sentence is apple. The listener knows which noun is being referred to from the previous context. Second example, which book is required reading? The thick with blue cover. So it omitted the word book because the speaker avoids repeating the noun book because it is understood. The last example is, you can borrow my pen if you don't have. The word being omitted there is a pen. The noun and determiner are omitted because they are clear from the main clause. The second type of ellipsis is verbal ellipsis. For example, I can play the piano, but my sister can. That can't refers to playing the piano, so play the piano is being omitted. Only the auxiliary verb can't is retained as the main verb phrase is understood. Second, are you enjoying the course? I am. So the word am is referring to the element or the clause enjoying the course. The subject and auxiliary verb are retained, while the rest of the verb phrase is omitted for efficiency. Lastly, she wanted to order a pizza, and he too wanted to order a pizza was being omitted. The entire predicate is deleted, leaving just the subject he and the intensifier too. The last type of ellipsis is clausal ellipsis. For example, where are you going? To the supermarket. The I am going is being omitted. Second example, while I was walking to the bus stop, I saw a celebrity. The words being omitted there is I was. The subject and auxiliary verb are omitted from the subordinate clause, leaving only the participle. Lastly, he arrived on Tuesday, but she arrived on Wednesday. The main verb is being omitted, which is common when only the time or place is being contrasted. Ellipsis is highly characteristic of spoken register because conversation relies heavily on shared context and immediate feedback. If the listener doesn't understand, they can immediately ask for clarification. The next type is conjunction. Conjunction using conjunctions or conjunctive adverbs to signal the logical relationship between clauses or sentences. In additive conjunctions, these signal that the following information is in addition, continuation, or clarification of the previous information. For example, let's take a look, for example, of the conjunction and. The report was submitted on time, and all the data was included. Simple addition of information. Furthermore, the team exceeded all sales goals. Furthermore, customer satisfaction reached a new high. That adds a point and reinforces the first. Next example is similarly. The first candidate was highly qualified. Similarly, the second candidate impressed the panel. It shows that the following information is parallel or comparable. Lastly, in addition, the new software saves time. In addition, it drastically reduces errors. It signals an extra benefit or piece of information. Next type of the conjunction is adversative conjunction. They signal a contrast, opposition, or contradiction between the ideas. First example is the conjunction but. We trained extensively for the marathon, but only half of the team finished the race. It is simple contrast between two ideas. Next example is however. The project had a strict deadline. However, the team was unable to secure all the necessary resources. It signals a contradiction or unexpected complication. Third example is nevertheless. The weather was terrible all day. Nevertheless, the outdoor concert was a success. This signals something happens despite a difficulty. And the fourth one is on the other hand. Investing in stocks is high risk. On the other hand, the potential for returns is significant. This signals two balanced, contrasting options or viewpoints. The last type of conjunction is the clausal conjunction. This signals a reason, result, or purpose, cause and effect. For example, the conjunction so. The store ran out of milk, so I had to go to a different market. It signals the result or consequence of the first clause. Second is consequently. The company failed to secure funding. Consequently, the research department was closed. It signals a formal, definite result or outcome. Third example is because. The experiment was postponed because the equipment malfunctioned. It signals the reason or cause for the preceding event. And lastly, the word therefore. All the evidence points to one suspect. Therefore, the police issued a warrant. It signals a logical conclusion drawn from the preceding statements. Last type of conjunction is temporal conjunction. These signal a sequence in time or a progression of events. For example, the word then. First, mix dry ingredients. Then, add the eggs. It signals the next step in a sequence. Another example is meanwhile. She worked on the presentation slides. Meanwhile, her colleague compiled the data. It signals simultaneous action. Next is finally. The debate covered three major topics. Finally, the moderator asks for closing statements. It signals the last step or point in a series. Then the last example is afterwards. We finished the tour of the museum. Afterwards, we went out for lunch. It signals a sequential event that happens later in time. By using these conjunctions, speakers and writers help the audience navigate the structure of the text, making the logical connections between ideas clear and ensuring that discourse remains cohesive. Next type is the lexical cohesion. Lexical cohesion is achieved through the choice of vocabulary. First example is repetition, the most direct form where the same word is used multiple times to keep the topic in sharp focus. For example, the rainforest is an irreplaceable environment. Protecting the rainforest must be our top priority. The direct repetition of the keyword rainforest ensures that readers' attention remains on the central topic. Second type is the synonymy and near synonymy. This involves using words that have similar meanings to refer the same concept, which adds variety and avoids dull repetition while maintaining the link. For example, the manager approved the request immediately. The experienced executive understood the need for speed. This means that the manager and executive are synonyms or near synonyms, referring to the same person or position, linking the two sentences. Next is the initial plan was flawed. It was completely defective and needed to be scrapped. The words flawed and defective are synonym adjectives that describes the same noun phrase, the plan, which creates a cohesion. Next is hyponymy and hypernymy. This involves using words that relate through a class member relationship. One word is a type of the other. Just a reminder, hypernymy is superordinate, which is the general class, and the hyponymy is the subordinate, which is the specific member of the class. Let's take a look for the first example. We visited the zoo yesterday. We saw lions, tigers, and several other dangerous big cats. This means that big cats is a hyponymy of the broader class of animals at the zoo. Next example is I just bought a new laptop. It's a great piece of technology for gaming. This means that the piece of technology is a general hypernymy used to refer to the specific hyponym laptop. And lastly, we have the collocation and semantic field. This is the most complex type. It involves using words that are frequently found together in specific contexts, which is also known as collocation, or belong to the same semantic field, a set of related vocabulary. Let's take a look for the first example. The patient suffered a heart attack. The surgeon immediately prepared for the operation and placed a scalpel on the tray. The words heart attack, surgeon, operation, and scalpel all belong to the semantic field of medicine or surgery, naturally linking the sentences. Last example. The defense argued for a mistrial. The prosecutor objected, stating the evidence was clearly admissible. This means that the defense and prosecutor are related through the semantic field of law or courtroom. Lexical cohesion is crucial for making academic, professional, and literary texts flow naturally and logically, ensuring that the main topic is continuously reinforced throughout the discourse. Now, let's proceed to the unity of structure. What is coherence? Coherence, it makes the text make sense. Coherence refers to the overall logical organization of ideas that makes a text easily understood. It is the macrostructure or unity of structure. In order for better understanding what are the difference between a cohesion and coherence, let's take a look for this analogy. Let's just think about it. Cohesion is the mortar between bricks, while coherence is the blueprint of the house. I hope you get that. Now, let's proceed to the schematic structure. The conventional expected organization for a specific genre. Listeners or readers have cognitive expectations about how a text will unfold. Let's take a look, for example, for a spoken or interactive genre. Let's just say you are going to a cafe and then you are being entertained by one of their staff. And this is how it goes. It goes first with a greeting. Let's say, "Hi, welcome to the cafe." Now, this conversation shifts to offer of service. Let's say the staff also says, "What can I get started for you?" This initiates the transaction phase before it establishes contact and tenor. Now, you as a customer, you would have done a request. You would say, "I'll take a latte and a croissant." This communicates the core purpose of the encounter. Then, this is followed by a transaction. The staff or the cashier would say, "That will be 174 pesos. Enjoy your meal." This completes the service or payment exchange. And after that, followed or we will move to the closing. And the staff or the cashier would say, "Have a great day." And this means that it terminates interaction politely. This is how the schematic works. Another example, let's just say, for example, in academic research paper, written or formal genre. In making an academic research paper, it first goes to introduction. Then it moves to the methods. Then it moves to the results. Then it moves to the discussion. In introduction, it establishes the field and identifies the gap in existing research and states the thesis or hypothesis. The key question there is, what did we study and why? In methods, it details the exact procedures, materials, and participants used. And the key question there is, how did we study it? Next, followed by the results. The results presents the findings, often with tables or figures or charts or graphs, perhaps without interpretation. And with the key question there is, what did we find? And lastly, in the discussion, it interprets the findings and it relates them back to the literature and notes limitations. And the key question there, what do the findings mean and why are they important? Another examples for schematic structure is news report. The news report is started by a headline, then followed with a lead with a width height structure, and next move to the body paragraphs in details, and lastly move to the context or background. And the purpose of this is to inform the reader about a recent event using an inverted pyramid structure. Another type of genre of text is customer service call. In customer service call, it has an opening, then moves to the complaint or query. Then it moves to the hold or verification and move to resolution, and lastly move to closing. The purpose of this is to solve a problem or answer a question efficiently. This structure is typically highly interactive and collaborative. Last example is for a formal invitation. Let's just say headed by the host and move to the request or event, followed by the date, time, and location, and move to the RSVP or dress code. The purpose of this is to formally invite someone and provide all necessary information in a specific order. Now, let's talk about register and genre. What is register? A register is a language variation according to context and purpose. It is defined by three variables: field, tenor, and mode. The register is the variety of language used for a particular purpose or in a particular social setting. And meanwhile, the genre, it is the conventionalized form or type of text that exists in a particular culture. Genres are recognizable because of their purpose and schematic structure. Also, the genre defines the shape of the text, like a mortar, while register defines the specific language choices, the vocabulary, the grammar, and the formality used within that shape. Also, a genre is a recognizable communicative event, a category of text that has developed over time to serve a specific social purpose. Components of register. Now, let's take a look for this example. Imagine the field is constant, a car breaking down. Now, let's take a look at the first column. The tenor or the relationship is formal. The mechanic to insurance corporation. And the mode of the register is through email or report. It is written. And in this first example, it composes complex sentences, passive voice, technical terms, no contractions. Now let's take a look for an example of a sentence. The vehicle experienced a sudden powertrain failure, necessitating immediate assessment of the transmission assembly. Second, for the tenor is informal, just a friend to a friend, and it is delivered through text message, spoken, and it contains simple sentences, abbreviations, slang, contractions, and expressive punctuations. And a sentence example for this is OMG, my car just completely died on the freeway. So stressed RN. RN defines right now. So stressed right now. Last example is, let's just say, the semi-formal type. It is the customer to tow service, and it is delivered through phone call. It is spoken, and it contains direct courteous language, active voice, and essential details. For example, I have a flat tire on I-95 southbound lane near exit 10. Can you send someone out right away? We have here another set of examples of genre in a schematic structure. Let's just say a first type of example in genre is academic essay. And the purpose of this is to argue a thesis and provide evidence. And this is introduced by an introduction and moves to the body, or this contains the topic, the sentence, the evidence and analysis, and moves to the conclusion, which is which contains restatement, summary, and closing thought. Another type of genre is, let's just say, for example, the receipt. This is to instruct someone on how to prepare a dish. So this introduced by a title or guild, then moves to the ingredient list, followed by a sequential steps or method, and followed by a cooking timer or temperature. Next type of genre is news report or hard news. So this is to inform the public of an event factually. So first it has a headline, then goes with the lead paragraph, and this is followed by body, the details in descending order of importance, and lastly followed by a quote or a commentary. Lastly, we have a personal email or a request, and this is to ask someone to do a favor. Firstly, introduced by a salutation, followed by a report builder, and followed by a request or the point of the text, and followed by a justification, and followed by a closing or gratitude. What is the relationship between a register and the genre? A text is written in a specific register and instantiates a specific genre. The genre dictates the overall structure, which is the coherence, and the register influences the lexical and grammatical choices, which is the coherence. In addition, register is the micro-level concept. The specific grammatical and lexical choices used within that structure based on the immediate communicative situation, while genre is the macro-level concept that dictates the overall predictable structure the text must take to achieve its social goal. In genre and register, in order for further understanding, let's take a look for example. Let's just say the genre is a job application. You wanted to apply for a job or in any company. You need to consider having to put a date and then put the recipient's address, a formal salutation, a clear statement of purpose, a summary of qualifications, and a formal sign off. That is the genre. Now, how about the register? In register for job application, you need to determine its field. Is it a job for finance or in art? Or let's just say for the tenor, you need to consider the tenor. Are you applying to a conservative law firm or a creative startup? This determines the formality. For example, I humbly submit my credentials. It's very formal. Versus, I'm excited to apply. It's very informal. Lastly, you need to consider its mode. Is it a PDF attachment or a single email body? This determines the sentence length and use of bullet points. The myth of pure modes. All text exists on a continuum between speech and writing. Some writing is very conversational, like a text message, and some speech is highly planned, like a formal speech. For example, in written it is planned, highly lexical density, complex nominal phrases. For example, the recent acquisition of the foreign subsidiary. Second, spoken, it's more of spontaneous. Low lexical identity, frequent use of simple verbs, repetitions, and fillers. For example, we bought a company that's overseas, right? And it's going pretty well. Spoken register is highly interactive, relies on context, uses simple syntax, frequent use of pronouns and ellipses, and cues like intonation and pause. Example, you know what? I'm busy. Maybe later. In written register, highly contextualized, uses more complex syntax, higher lexical density, and formal vocabulary. For example, the aforementioned individual, being occupied with a prior commitment, was unable to attend the scheduled meeting. Now let's talk about the end focus. End focus is the principle that the most important new or contrastive information in a clause or sentence is typically placed toward the end of that clause or sentence. For the given information or the old information, it is the topic or theme usually comes at the beginning, connecting the sentence to the previous context. However, the new information, which is the focus or comment, comes at the end, providing the core message or advancing the discourse. Let's take a look at these following examples. First, a discussion about Mary. Sentence given like Mary just bought a brand new sports car. The old information there is Mary just bought, and the new information is a brand new car. Next example is speaking about the car. So let's just say the car is painted bright red. The car is the given or old information, and is painted bright red is the new information. Now, to end this discussion, let me summarize this chapter. All linguistic choices, from word choice to sentence structure to text organization, are ultimately driven by the goals of communication. A good text is both cohesive or well linked and coherent or well structured. Next, understanding text structure helps us better analyze and produce text appropriate for different audiences and purposes. Lastly, this chapter acts as a bridge showing how the smaller units studied earlier, like words, clauses, are the building blocks that create the larger, meaningful structures of real world discourses. And that ends my discussion for today. And again, my name is Kim Pimentel, and thank you for watching.